Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, has decided to try and defend free speech, and I have some sympathies. I know it's going to be an unpopular opinion, with sympathizing with Susan on some of her points, but most of it is the usual garbage, but I thought we'd go through it because it's interesting in my opinion. So, first thing is just her tweeting. As CEO of YouTube, I see important issues around free expression and responsibility every day. Today, in the Wall Street Journal, the one that spent their time attacking YouTube because PewDiePie is a bad boy, and therefore YouTube needs to suffer. Remember, they got rid of all those advertisers? That was them. But okay, write an article for them, whatever. I wrote about three principles that should guide discussion about the regulation of online speech. Well, what are those principles? So if we go to the article itself, we should have put in an archive link for people who want to get this, because the interesting thing as well, it's behind a paywall, which a little bit strange for a free speech article, but whatever.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the fact that the Wall Street Journal were criticising YouTube, so the fact she's making a free speech argument on their website is quite funny as well. It's just like going to the house and dirtying your shoes on the
Yes, we
carpet.
care about free speech. The Wall Street Journal, it's again the skin suit. It's like such fakes. Anyway, she wrote this. So she starts off with a story she tells every time she talks about free speech. When I was growing up, every time I wrote a letter to my grandfather, I worried it might be censored. My father had fled communist Poland for the United States, but my grandfather was unable to escape and still lived behind the Iron Curtain. I learned very young that it could be very dangerous when governments reach too far. She tells the story every single time she talks about censorship. Every single time. And it's kind of weird, because you would have thought, I know she wanted to come off as like, I know about how censorship is bad, that's why I'm a free speech person. But all it does, because she is massively overreaching within her own company, as in her guidance and whatnot, overreach, that it just comes off like, yeah, I know about real censorship. Don't worry, put me in charge. I'll do a good job. So, Susan. Anyway, so she says, as CEO of YouTube, I grapple every day with issues related to free expression and responsibility. Companies, civil society, and governments are facing unprecedented challenges and sorting through complicated questions, determining where to draw the lines on free speech in the 20th century. I have some sympathy with this point, because it's all great for us to, great and right for us to criticize YouTube when it's overbearing in a lot of ways, but some of this is difficult because you've got to put yourself in her shoes. She can't be a dictator, surely, with all the pressure she gets from the leftists who run the company, from the bottom down, let's say, but also the governments, like the Democratic government that's currently in charge of the United States, constantly pressuring them to get rid of misinformation, because that's constitutional. So I've got some sympathy with her. You can see her working out there. It's not my fault. It's definitely the government who pressure us as well.
Well, she's trying to shift the blame, right? And she is the one ultimately in control. I don't know. I find it, maybe I'm just a bit bitter, but I find it hard to be as charitable to her.
Well, this is the weird thing. As bad as YouTube is, it's not as bad as, say, Twitter or Facebook in the written terms they do. I mean, the leaks we've had from Facebook, I keep calling out Ryan Hartwood because he's just such a goddamn hero on this, is the way Facebook will just, new rule, this person's banned, that's the new guidance. So they even haven't broken any of the rules whatsoever, but we'll just write a new rule, this person is banned.
We don't like that person, they're gone, sort of thing.
Really, really pathetic. And there are some claims YouTubers engaged in that. I mean, Monkey Jones, the one Tim Pool keeps mentioning. But I don't know. I haven't seen a specific example of that. That hasn't come from pressure from governments, such as Robin Tomlinson. It's a clip of that. Anyway, policymakers around the world are introducing regulatory proposals, some arguing that too much content is left up on platforms, while others say that too much is taken down. And there's a right side to that debate. At YouTube, we're working to protect our community while enabling new and diverse voices to break through. Kind of a ridiculous thing to say.
New and diverse voices.
More new and diverse voices. Diverse. Well, I suppose if you take the leftist opinion of diverse, because, of course, it's like, we have a boardroom, 100% women, therefore it's 100% diverse. It's my favorite meme John came up with. But it's like, you've got that's what diverse means to you. All progressive, I guess, is the term diverse here, which that could be true, but the idea that there is a diverse range of YouTubers, particularly in the political content sphere, it's much worse than it used to be. Really, really much worse. So she says 3 principles should guide discussions about the regulation of online speech. First, YouTube makes information available to anyone with an internet connection. People around the world come to YouTube to find information, to learn, and to build community. by creating a space that's open to everyone means that bad actors will sometimes cross the line. True. I mean, again, we have to deal with, they're not just dealing with naughty words, there's also the element of terrorist groups, criminal groups, so on and so forth. Very wide topic. We remove content that could cause real harm, such as violent extremism, copyright infringement, and dangerous pranks. Some of our decisions are controversial, putting it lightly, but we apply our policies equally, regardless of who posts the content or the political viewpoint expressed. Liar. Just open liar on this one. Don't believe you, Susan. And if you think I'm wrong, well, go to your hate speech policies and look at them, and then compare them to the current mainstream thought of the right, the Republican Party, the Conservatives in the UK, around the world. I mean, even in the US, you don't even have to go elsewhere to see this is openly partisan. One side believes in the things you have in that policy, and the other side doesn't believe in them, which means expressly your policies are partisan. In the same way that Twitter, for example, you cannot misgender someone on Twitter. You'll get a ban if you do. That's an expressly partisan point. Tim Pool made that perfectly clear to, Jack Dorsey when he had the interview on Joe Rogan. It's a great point. And every policy about hate speech is the same. The right doesn't believe in hate speech. They believe in free speech. It's kind of the point. They don't believe that words that cause hurt feelings should be a crime. If you put in there excitement to violence, then no one would have a problem with it. It wouldn't be partisan. But, liar.
One thing that I've noticed that is quite amusing to me is the fact that they're talking about content that could cause real harm, and of course they validly talk about violent extremism, and then juxtapose that next to copyright infringement.
It causes real world harm. Well, I suppose it causes financial harm.
It causes harm, yeah, but to put the two next to each other kind of seems a bit silly. Yeah.
She says the second principle, democratic governments must provide companies with clear guidance about illegal speech that helps us remove illegal content more quickly and efficiently. These laws must be grounded in international norms as officials balance the right to information with the risk of harms. Oh, God. Because here's the thing. Like, I agree with her that the governments need to be clear on what is illegal, because if you're a company, the BitChute's are a great one for this, in which they've had to deal with the nonsense that comes out of Westminster, where they're just like, yeah, this thing is illegal now, the completely undefined terms, and they're just like, what the fuck am I censoring? Like, what do you want me to do here? Like, the law is the law, and the company has to comply with the law. With that blame is not on YouTube or BitChute, it's on Westminster, Washington, and that's true. But then her saying that it should be based on international norms, why not liberal principles? Why not the principles of, free expression, liberal rights, in which we have incitement to violence is illegal, but speech that isn't causing any damage isn't, because it just hurts feelings. But
what even is an international norm anyway? Like, they're going to consider.
Agreed.
They're going to consider North Korea. They're going to have an equal say in what can go on YouTube.
I see John's written there. Well, China does have the largest population, so I mean the international norm is whatever China says so. So that's a great point. Anyway, but she continues. But not everything about content moderation will be overseen by governments, which is why I believe strongly in the third principle. Companies should have flexibility to develop responsible practices to handle legal but potentially harmful speech. If it's potentially harmful, why is it legal? Think about that for a minute, Susan. Because there's a lot of speech that's legal in the United States. Why? Because it doesn't cause harm. That's the point. That's the point of the Constitution, the First Amendment there. And when you go to a country like the UK, we criminalise a lot of legal speech that doesn't cause any harm, that isn't just hurt feels. And again, if that's not enough for you, I don't know what to say. You're a tyrant. You're a tyrant in your policies when you enact them. It's an absurd thing to say.
There are lots of other potentially harmful things that people in Western society are completely okay with tolerating as well. Getting in a car is potentially harmful, but people still think nothing of it, right?
We are speaking about speech specifically here.
I know, so it's even less harmful than something like that.
But she continues, some policymakers are debating what legal speech should be allowed on platforms. But such prescriptive rules could have serious consequences. And she gives some examples later on that we're about to go into. But the statement, some policymakers are debating what legal speech we should be forced to have on this platform. Big sus. Just thinking about Trump, Donald Trump, the guy that's banned on your platform and everyone else's. Maybe he should be allowed. The leader of the free world should be forced to be allowed on your platform. What's wrong with that? It's not censorship. That's platforming the man. But whatever. So she gave some examples instead that, who could disagree with, in which she says some officials decide to regulate legal content they consider graphic, I don't know what third world country's doing this, that may lead to the removal of protest footage, video games, and music videos. Evidence on YouTube helped prosecutors in Sweden hold the Syrian regime and rebel fighters accountable for war crimes. One of these videos have been taken down because they were deemed too graphic. It's a valid point. Who's going to disagree with that? No one, except the nut jobs who are trying to get drill videos removed, I guess. Last year, when mobile phone towers in the UK were set on fire after conspiracy theories blamed COVID-19 on 5G networks, we updated our policies in a single day to remove harmful content. See, this is the problem. This is the goddamn problem. Right. If someone tells a lie, if they say some nonsense, and someone else believes that nonsense, and then goes out and commits a violent action, setting fire to the towers, shooting at workers on the towers, whatever, that's not the original person's fault. The original liar hasn't shot anyone. He hasn't burnt anything. So you saying, well, we took down the videos as if the videos were to blame. Fundamentally, they're not. The individual is to blame for doing it, but whatever. It's another one of those. So, I don't know why... Again, I have to think, if you're going to say that someone spreads an extremist idea, and then someone else acts on that extremist idea, therefore the original poster is to blame, weren't you talking about communism earlier? And how communist ideas had spread to Poland, and then been enacted, and they'd censored your messages. So shouldn't the communist creators of YouTube be banned for that? No, I guess not. But whatever. The theory never goes a way that might be useful to writers, let's say. Some may suggest that government should oversee online speech, but we need flexibility to strike the right balance between openness and responsibility. When we get it wrong or lean too heavily in either direction, our business and millions of small creators and small businesses built on YouTube are hurt. Advertisers have pulled spending from YouTube when their ads are next to problematic content. And this is where I look at it and I think there's a little bit of like a hostage message there. She's like trying to realize they're coming after me. Like, well. But then she says, we're working with the Global Alliance for Responsible Media to develop industry definitions of content that is not suitable for advertising. But that's not subverted.
Global Alliance for Responsible Media. That just the name alone is a massive red flag. Just like,
Yeah. So then she says he works with some international terrorist group as well, which I'm less concerned about. But the idea of a global alliance to determine what YouTube content should get ads, oh, come on, no one's fallen for that, being responsible. Managing our platform's responsibility is good for business. We're also working to provide more transparency about our efforts. We recently released our violative view rate, which estimates how frequently viewers see content that violates their policies. So, even with YouTube's quite strict policies that go well beyond what is illegal, they go well into the realms of what is legal, and also well into the realms of what is truth, because I don't know why they annex that to themselves. Even then, so this is how bad the scary far right are, or whoever who's trying to get kids to see their content. The rates fell more by 70% compared with 2017, thanks in large part to investments in machine learning and help flag potentially violative content. In the first quarter, the rate was 0.16%.
That's pretty tiny.
0.16%. So that means that every 10,000 views on YouTube, 16 to 18 came from violative content. And that obviously includes pornography or whatever else people have posted. So this message you keep getting sent from the public, from the media, not the public, this is corporate media, but like there's loads of far-right stuff on YouTube or whatever, endless moral panics. No, there isn't.
You could even probably go looking for it and not find it, let alone
it's
stumble across it.
A tenth of the percent. It is an absolute nothing burger in terms of views. But the reason I take all of this with a large pinch of salt is because we have an article on lotusseasons.com about Susan Wojcicki in which she explains why she ruined YouTube. And I thought I'd just bring it back up again, and you should go read it out because I'm not going to do the whole thing. But I wanted to mention here, so the YouTube algorithm used to function, as they explain in her interview, on a concept called more of the same. So the guys who ran the algorithms were like, right, we'll give you more of the same. You like cat videos, we'll give you more cat videos. And then more views, YouTube numbers go up, well, more good. Simple as. That was the ideology. And then Susan was made manager, and she got upset. So in 2016, there was a terrorist attack that happened in France. And I remember reading that and being extremely upset and thinking, our users need to know about it. Okay, Mum, that's not your business. Like, I don't want to look at it. I don't know why you're trying to force people to look at it, but whatever. So she says that YouTube started pushing news about the attack on homepages of French users, and searches about the attack started algorithmically being manipulated to prioritize authoritative sources. This is where the problem begins. But that didn't perform very well on our platform, she says. The users didn't actually want to see it. Yeah, big shock. And so, what do you do as a platform? Okay, option number one, you stop being Mum, because you're not the mum of the internet, and you decide that users should be able to decide what users want to see. Stunning idea, I know. But she didn't go with that. She said, do you show it to them anyway? I remember that very clearly because that was the first time I said to them, the YouTube software engineers, you know what? It doesn't matter. We have a responsibility. Something happened in the world, and it's important for our users to know. And it was the first time that we started using the word responsibility, and the fact that we needed to put information in our site that was relevant, even if our users were not necessarily engaging with it, and the same way they could view the world for entertainment videos. Great. That's how she ruined YouTube. She had a panic about the terrorist attack in France, and as John points out, it is also the moment they explicitly became a publisher, because not only are they deciding that, no, you need to see this, which I never wanted to. In fact, no one was clicking on it, and she didn't care. She was like, no, keep throwing it up in their faces. In case you're wondering why you keep getting so much woke stuff on YouTube on occasion, that's why, because they want you to. And also, when you Google certain people, it just not there. Their content isn't there. Instead, there's just corporate news, because authoritative sources is what she decided to put in everyone's faces. And, yeah, that's how she did it. So she also goes on to explain how she rolled out the destruction of the rest of YouTube, and she destroyed all borderline content, which is never defined, because if they did, it would look bad, I suppose. And also why the news and politics tab is always filled with corporate media. That's the authoritative sources part, in which she was like, there's too much misinformation. Therefore, anyone who has an opinion that's not corporate media, banned, and we'll just have corporate media instead. So there's a thing there. I don't know if she's been blackmailed by corporate media, because they're dying on TV, dying on their websites, and then they need the views from YouTube.
Well, they were the ones that whipped up the fervour about the adpocalypse, weren't they? In that they were the ones saying, YouTube is the home of dangerous content and such, that resulted in huge damages to their profits. So they kind of had to placate them in some way to survive as a business.
Had nothing to do with extremist content being viewed. It was entirely to do with corporate media losing out on its hegemony of information.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because people were going elsewhere, because the truth was not being found on corporate media. And in response, they essentially blackmailed YouTube into doing this, is my opinion. En masse, they have just bullied YouTube into putting corporate media in front of you, which is why this happened. So if we go to the next link here. So if you Google a certain man's name, and this is not the only one, this is just the most striking one, he has a YouTube channel, which he posts content. It's quarantined at this point. Don't know how that's normal. But you can see there, if we just scroll, The Independent, Al Jazeera, Oxford Union, couldn't censor that one. Good Morning Britain, BBC News, Novara Media, Joe Politics, Rupley, Russia Today. You don't get him. He's not there. And you can do it with Alex Jones. You can do it with a large part with Carl as well, in which most of the links are, again, corporate press. Anyone who builds up a platform, who is known for being a social media person, that gets destroyed as soon as they enter the realm of politics, because all of the results become corporate media, and none of the people who might vote for them or support them can find them. All they find is the smears instead. Purposely done. I think they wanted that power. That's why they decided they would bully them into it. But all of this is why it looks so ridiculous when YouTube just awards itself free speech awards. I thought I just had to add this just to end on. 2021 Free Speech Awards, presented by signature sponsor YouTube. Free Expression Award going to Susan Wojcicki, CEO of YouTube.
Just like, I have created an award, and do you know who wins it? Me.
For free expression. I am the most free speech person. Awards for me for free. I mean, it's like the Communist Party leader of Poland, Susan, giving himself an award for free speech, because, he totally just look at the dislikes. I mean, at least they had the balls to keep them up, let's say. 99% dislikes, because the hypocrisy is stunning. But anyway, yeah, that's Susan Wojcicki's attempt at trying to defend free speech. Very bad one. I don't know how dishonest it is. Make up your own views on that.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.